Cray Elemental.
Cray Elemental.
Cray Elemental.
Cray Elemental.
Cray Elemental.
Cray Elementals,
Why you acting so cray-cray?
like them or not, have been integral to deck building since G format. They've always been made to counteract specific forms and playstyles of decks, but since every deck up until now has basically just been a copy of Nova Grappler, we've only really seen these two as staples. But that all changes this format. I've been holding off on making this video because I wanted to get a few more test results in, but I can confidently say that these three Cray Elementals are hitting the bench this season. Only time and the remote fight results will tell, but there are three new Cray Elementals that you need to be aware of this format. And today I will be going over each of them and explaining why you can blame them for your X2 drop. First, let's look at why the previous three Cray Elementals thrived so well in their formats. Since mid-G series to early premium, multi-attack decks have been king. If your deck needs a win con, Bushiroad has probably given you some sort of card that lets you attack more than 4 times. Many of them have even been banned, leaving their respective clans in a shit puddle of irrelevance. So what do you do with all these multi-attacks? How do you stop them from hitting you so many times? You make them pay taxes. Up until now, Light Elemental Hanali has been the answer to all of these strategies, but that's not necessarily true anymore. Most decks that you used to tech Hanali for are either totally fine with paying the counterblast, or in most cases, can already retire the Hanali before they start comboing. Additionally, most decks in this format don't even rely on rearguard attacks. Most of them just swing with their big Vanguards like 3 or 4 times. Now on to Hwam and Bobo. These cards served as an answer to counterblast denial in very combo heavy formats. If your opponent didn't want you to play the game, as long as you drew these two cards, there was nothing your opponent could do about it. However, basically every single one of these loop/combo decks has been hit by the ban list. So without these combo decks in the format, what is the purpose of Bobo and Hwam? While some smooth-brained Chaos players could say that Bobo is still a tech for their deck, given Bushiroad is really scared of them having resources for some reason, and existing combo decks like Dark Irregulars certainly could benefit from your opponent being forced to give you damage, these cards are far from necessary in both of those respective strategies. Unless I'm missing some crazy OTK combo deck that everybody else has been playing, all these two cards do in this current aggressive format is get you closer to losing. Now on to the new big three. The first card on my list is Water Elemental Mistoff. It's only a matter of time before players start realizing that an 8-card hand isn't that big. Remember when Jammy got banned because everybody was mad at hand limits? Think of this like Jammy, but it's in every deck, and also it's a disruption. If you're not yet sold, think of any deck that can call cards on opponent's turn. Now imagine your opponent is just maintaining a ton of advantage that you can't break. They end on a 15 to 20 card hand. They might have a bit of disruption, and you just don't see yourself winning the game. If only you could drop this guy down and make your opponent discard anywhere from 5 to 100k shield, making it significantly easier for you to win the game next turn. Or just turned the advantage curve around so that you're now ahead of your opponent. You can even play it in aggro decks to prevent your opponent from getting too far ahead. This card closes so many weaknesses that a lot of aggressive and behind premium decks have. Discarding down to 8 doesn't seem like much until you realize that now it's your turn, and their hand is going from 8 down to somewhere from 4 to 1. And now that the format's a bit closer, I think it's the perfect time for people to start playing this. The next card I'd like to talk about has a lot less applications in the format, and is more of a cover-up if a few of your matchups are unfavorable. If your deck dies a bit too hard to disruption and you have no other way out of it, I strongly recommend Earth Elemental Connell. This card is not for everyone, and only around 1/3 of the format actually has any form of disruption. So a lot of the time, this card is a brick. But if your deck build is consistent enough to play techs like this, and you have no other way out of disruption, this card is your answer. Fun fact, if you're playing Nova Grappler, they have an 8k body, 10k shield version of this. But it's in Nova Grappler, so it sucks. And finally, the card that I think will define this entire premium format is none other than Shadow Elemental Bitcoin. I'm gonna list off every single deck that is projected to be the quote-unquote best deck of the format. Overlord, Harry, Regalia, Grand Blue, OTT. If you are not yet sold, here is a chart of every single clan in Premium, divided by whether or not they revolve around a multi-attacking Vanguard. Furthermore, if you haven't faced decks like Overlord or Regalia and wanted to bash your head into cement because of how many cards these brain-dead decks take out of your hand, or just OTK you with them, as long as your deck has space for techs, play as many of this card as possible. If you have a way of searching and adding cards to your hand against any of the matchups on that list, this is one of the first cards you should be searching for. If your deck has a limited access to perfect guards, and you need to survive the long game, this card is absolutely necessary. I can confidently say that if this card didn't exist, Premium would be in a significantly worse place. This is one of the few cards in the game that put a stop to the brain-dead 2-crit OTK Vanguard swings that are currently flooding the Premium format. I mentioned this card to a group of friends in Florida at one point, and almost every topping deck list at the next Golden Phoenix Games event was playing at least one copy of Bikun. It's a bit too late now that deck list submissions have closed for BRO, but you might want to start taking out your Hanalis in favor of this card. Buy your copies now so you can join me in becoming a Bikun millionaire.